Hello, ladies, and welcome. Thank you for accepting the invitation to speak on a rather painful topic for Armenia right now, that is a society traumatized by war and its reflection in German and Georgian literature. For those who are watching, I would like to introduce the speakers. Nora Bosong, a multiple award-winning poet, writer, and essayist, and Nino Haratishvili, German poet, German writer of Georgian origin, which gives her a special flavor for the Armenian audience, right? And Nino is also a writer and a director, an acclaimed one. Ladies, you have both produced already a quite visible original footprint in German literature, and you have a solid background in literature as well. And we would like to hear your opinion on the following topic: post-war society, a destructuralized, destabilized society, and its reflection in literature. That's the general topic that I would like to introduce. And Nino, I would like to put the first question to you. Georgia in the 90s, how did it make you feel?
Yes, I mean, of course, it was a harsh and difficult time, but I was lucky enough to be small because, I was not aware of what was going on. For me, it was quite normal, all this chaos and shootings and economical struggles. But still, I was a kid and somehow I felt secure because of my parents and family. And still, it was my childhood and I enjoyed a lot of things. Just like after moving to Germany, actually, I realized what we all went through. And the interesting issue about this 90s is that it didn't really matter which profession or social status you had. It was just like this impact. It had everyone in a society who lived in that period had a huge impact this time on that person or families. And so it was, of course, the same with me, but only after moving to Germany and getting some distance, I realized, what it all meant. And I was kind of really happy that I was not already grown up at that time, for example, my parents, because realizing that having responsibility, for example, for kids or just like parents or some other people during that time, that would be really, really scary because, there was no work, no money, no perspectives. And what's really interesting about it, and I'm always thinking about that issue, is that all the values I grew up with, they disappeared. And it was like society finding or trying or struggling with finding the new identity. That may be the most important thing about that period.
What do you think it was like for those who stayed in Georgia, and women specifically?
Without women, Georgia would not survive because, it still remains this way because I don't know how, maybe almost 1 million. And I would say 70% of that million remain women. They left Georgia and became nursing or care workers, sometimes still illegal with no papers, no insurance, and sending money to the family because men, they were more struck down by that time. They didn't have work and they were not able to improvise. So, and of course, a lot of them, they went to war, to the Abkhazian and North Ossetia war, and some of them did not come back, or a lot of men at that time had some alcohol and drug abuse problems. And women were forced to take this responsibility. And it still is a really, really painful problem and stays because still a lot of, I don't know, the percentage of how many of them, but still really a lot of families, they're still surviving by their mothers and wives sending money to them.
Thank you. And one more thing that I'd like to find out, which elements of war spring up in Georgian literature and in your own? Are there any elements that you've been using that are rooted in war?
Yes, somehow. I mean, I wrote a lot of course, also plays, but I would say the main part I've worked or was thinking about that, or also did a lot of research, was for my third novel, The Eighth Life for Brilka. This is a novel about Georgia and Georgian history for the last 100 years. And my approach was, because it was really difficult to get, for example, a good literature, non-fictional literature about, for example, the recent wars. And I tried to describe, because for me it wasn't important. I'm not a historian, of course, and for me this emotional approach and impact of war on like every human being, that was maybe the main part or main issue. And I've tried to focus on women. That was maybe like the main goal for me, because often war is just like the association with war. It's always like battles and fightings and shootings and of course men. And for me, it was more interesting to find out what it means for women who are staying at home, or and their fighting is not less important or painful.
All right, thank you. We're going to come back to this from a different perspective. I'd like to switch to Nora and what you think, Nora. You have this daring quality of unmasking reality. I noticed in your speeches that you delivered to cultural societies. In what ways does the ugliness of war make its way into German literature and perhaps into your own as well?
Well, first of all, of course, it's still the Second World War that founded German literature in a new way after 1945, and that is still a big, huge topic, of course. And Germany was responsible for the Second World War, was responsible and very much engaged also in First World War. So we have this history, this very brutal history, that still is a huge topic in literature, but also in the society. And the question of guilt, of course, is one that plays a role in a lot of novels, poetry, dramas. But then looking from the year 2021, or let it be 2011 or 2000, we see that this promise, never again, of course, never again Auschwitz, that was never again, but we see the wars continue, also the genocides continue. So it's the question, what do we do with all these attempts to understand better what happened then? They seem to lead to nowhere. They seem not to make it really better. So what do we do now? Do we still have hope? Do we still have a promise to give? What is doing literature with it? And the last novel I wrote was about the United Nations, who have been founded with this promise, never again, plus jamais ça, and who have their own guilt. They, like 27 years ago, there was a genocide in Rwanda that started on April 6th, and the United Nations saw it and they did not do enough. So almost a million people were killed there. So we see the continuing theme, the continuing catastrophe of wars. And of course, it's. I think we have to ask the question in a new way. We have to look at it in a new way. And my answer, it's not an answer, but it's an attempt to do something, is just not to close the eyes and just to look at it precisely, and not to build too much walls in front of you to feel safe. And well, now in Germany it's also safe. No, well, maybe, but we see the rest of the world, it's not a safe place. The world is not a safe place.
All right. Well, thank you, Nora. I would like to bring you ladies back to the post-war Armenian society, because we have struggles right now, currently. What we're facing right now is a certain sizable amount of pain, despair, lack of focus. It's like what we need most right now is to focus, to rev up the pace with which we're going forward, because the only way out is the way on, is the way forward. What remedies do you think literature offers to a destabilized society where people are facing fears, sometimes in some cases even despair, and they do not see a way of building it all up from scratch, from the ground up? What remedy does literature offer to rectify a destabilized society, a post-war traumatized social life, economy? Psychological remedies are welcome as well.
Well, I would say that storytelling or telling, if it's stories, biographies, or just tell your own sorrows, is something that is very important in post-conflict or still in conflict societies, because otherwise you're locked in with your fears, with your sorrows, with your desperation, and literature can be like the hand that someone gives to you. It might not be the author, it might be a protagonist or like a figure in the story, but just getting you back to listen to other people, getting you back to understand or to see the world in a little different perspective. I think that can be a first step. I would not say that literature can heal everything, but it can be an attempt to start a healing process.
Storytelling can be therapeutic, not keeping silent. Yes. All right. Who do you see carrying out the storytelling process? Writers only? Those who are in the shapers of culture? Or do you mean this on a personal basis in regard to all the members of the society?
I would say it's not only the author, it's the author who, for literature, who listens. That's the point, that's the work of an author, to listen to the stories that people are telling, and to give these stories a shape, and to make it to let it grow in a literary form, and to make it accessible for others, to collect memories. That's what an author, what literary writer can do, and that's just a little piece. It's a little mosaic that might help. But it's not that the author is like Godfather who creates a new world where everything is fine and wonderful and peaceful. It's just it helps to make stories hearable.
All right, thank you. And Nino, what do you think? What is the repair that you would suggest from personal experience, from your literary background, to help destabilized society stand back up to their feet?
I think one important issue could be, because that is what I'm experiencing in Georgia, and I would say, I guess in Armenia it's like the same, because for small countries like Georgia or Armenia, it's extremely important to be seen. So I often experience when I meet people and we as a society in Georgia start talking about some traumas and also our mistakes. It's not only about like, for example, in Georgia, it's always like we're often victims, but of course we also don't like to talk about our own mistakes and problems. But for example, 2018, Georgia became guest of honor at Frankfurt Book Fair. It was really a big thing here, big issue, because that was like so important for so many people to be heard, to be seen, to be translated, people becoming more interested. Because I remember when I moved to Germany 17 years ago, like everybody was asking, oh, Georgia, it's like somewhere in Russia, and do you speak Russian? And nobody knew what and where is Georgia exactly. And that changed a lot. I guess, of course, the main part, I think artists are really important and cultural things, and not only like writers, there are also a lot of great filmmakers, musicians, and so on, who are spreading their voices and talking about the problems and traumas. And becoming visible is one thing that also I do believe can help healing process. Because I mean, yes, literature, I agree with Nora. I don't think that it can like be a remedy of everything or heal everything or avoid something. But it's really important to have a dialogue, to talk about all the problems, all the conflicts, all the traumas. And it can be done in really different and several ways on different platforms. But this kind of dialogue and discussion is really important, not only like a political platform, but of course also culturally.
All right. Thank you once again, ladies, for your willingness to contribute to our attempt to rise up in a difficult time as this.
Thank you.
Thank you.